Hi, I'm Tina Marzolf. I'm the math department chair at Yorkville High School. I have been teaching at Yorkville High School for the past 17 years. 12 of those years I've been serving as the math department chair. I have a total, though, of 22 years of teaching experience. Taught in Indiana for years there, and I also taught my children, and I stayed at home with my children for 8 years during this time frame as well, too.
Hi, this is Joel Wyeth. I'm the associate principal at Yorkville High School. This is my 24th year in Yorkville, and prior to that I had 9 years at East Aurora, for a total of 33 in education.
Hi, and I'm Steve Bjork. I'm an administrator at Yorkville Intermediate School. I've had 34 total years in education. I started in 1988. I've been teaching for 13 years, and I was administrator for 21. I've been at Yorkville since 1999, and the two best years of my teaching career were with my buddy here, Mr. Wyeth at Yorkville High School back
First,
in the day.
1999 and 2000.
Oh,
Fantastic years, and math teacher at Yorkville High School.
Lots of stories.
Hi, my name's Linda Dewey. I'm a band director here at Grand Reserve and Bristol Bay Elementary Schools. I started my teaching, back in 1984, the fall of 84. I taught for 6 years, 2 in Iowa and 4 years down the road at Earlville. At that time then I made a career change and went into accounting for about 25 years, and then ended back in the music teaching world here at Yorkville for the past 8 years.
My name is Pete Marcelo. I'm Associate Superintendent of District 115. I've been in this position for 5 years, and I've been working in school districts for 28 years. I started my career out in mental health, in community mental health centers, family therapy clinics, drug rehabs, etc. And I've been a cabinet member in several districts for over the last 20 years.
So my name is Sue Messersmith. I've been at Yorkville for 33 years, and I'm a special education teacher. 30 of those 33 years, I was Sue Grzinski, so a lot of people still call me G or Sue G, and some of them pretty creative call me Sue GM. So, but technically right now I'm Sue Messersmith.
So my first day of teaching, well, if I can remember back that far, I'm a math teacher, but I taught all computer classes my first year of teaching. And what I taught back then is non-existent now, because computers has changed so much. But what was funny is back then, I was the new teacher, the young teacher who knew everything about computers. So I basically developed the curriculum and taught what I wanted to. But what was nice is I had a lot of new, exciting students who were excited to learn about computers, and they actually a lot of times knew, especially that first year, knew more than what I did as they were learning.
So my first days at Yorkville High School, after teaching 9 years at East Aurora, I was hired by Frank Babbage, and the first day that I worked, he gave me the student handbook and told me, read this, you'll need to follow the rules. The true most memorable thing was when Mary Lou Jansen, the superintendent secretary, walked in. She brought me a planter, and that plant is still alive today in my office. The last part that I want to mention is I didn't really know what I was getting into until Art Hagney, a veteran English teacher, came into my office and said, Joel, these 2 kids skipped my class yesterday and you didn't give them a consequence yet. Can you take care of that? That's when I knew what my job really was supposed to be.
And I can tell you for a fact he didn't know what he was doing, so I can vouch for that. My memorable first day of teaching, I'll never forget it. I had a big cast on my arm. I was a late hire in August. During my interview, I pulled up right in front of the school to interview, so I'm really excited the first day to get in there. There's no cars around where I parked at the first day, so I pulled up, got in, getting almost ready for start time, and the kids and the parents are all around the front door, and my name's called on a loudspeaker to come to the office immediately. I went there. I had parked in the school drop-off zone for buses, so I had to make my way through all the students and parents with my big cast on my hand. Totally embarrassed, didn't know what they'd think of me. It turned out okay, but that was a very memorable first day for me.
So on my first day of teaching, I actually don't remember it at all. I'm sure I was very nervous, but I can remember my first day coming back into the teaching world with Miss Melvin and realizing I was the old one in town with all these young, recent grads and professionals. So that's what I remember most, coming back and working with the younger generation.
So what I remember in my first day of teaching was I was hired as a consultant social worker, a school social worker in Union City, New Jersey, which is a pretty urban environment with tens of thousands of kids, pretty analogous to like Elgin. And I was the timeout and behavior specialist in the public day school. And what was interesting about this facility, it was like probably 6 or 7 stories high. And I remember that they told me that they were really excited to show me the new timeout room that I was going to be supervising. And it turned out to be on the 2nd floor of a building with unlocked windows and lockers that were just pushed in the room because there was no space to put them anywhere else, and they weren't even bolted to the wall. And I recall thinking to myself, man, there's a lot of problems that potentially could occur in this situation with students who are put in a timeout room because they're having a behavioral reaction. And typically timeout rooms are not on the 2nd floor, and certainly they don't have furniture like lockers that are unbolted into the wall. So lo and behold, there was an incident during the school year where the lockers fell and hurt somebody in the leg, and luckily I did have the common sense enough to express that I was concerned about this situation to my principal that exact first day of school. So that's what I remember.
Wow. Honestly, I can tell you I don't remember my first year of teaching. There's a couple things, like, it's funny because you don't remember like the academic stuff. I remember a lot of I remember my first aha moment. I had a class of kids that were super squirrely. And I remember when I went to go shut the door, and the door accidentally slammed like really loud, and all the kids got really quiet. And they're like, "Oh my God, are we in trouble?" And I was like, okay, that's a tool I can use later. I think probably my most embarrassing moment, I was, and these were kids I knew really well. Talk about squirrely kids. I was standing in the hallway, and there's a couple kids goofing around, and they came running down the hallway, and one of them knelt down on the floor, and the other one tripped over him and came like flying at me. Honest God, it was like 50 miles an hour. And I was standing there, there's nothing I could do. It was like, I felt like a bowling pin. And yeah, they felt pretty bad about that.
Teaching is always changing. That's what education is all about, finding better ways to improve students' content and make them more successful in the world. And so it's always changing. That's what you need to do. But so when I think about has teaching changed, it makes me think about it's more about the world that's changed and what we live. And the changes that have come up in the world is what's really made dramatic impacts and changes on education and put more demands on the educational system to provide a better education for our students, and also changes in families and students in general and how they're being brought up has also affected, education and how we need to meet the needs of these new students compared to what they were when I first started teaching.
So teaching has changed dramatically in the last 28 years since I first started. I think there's not only a concern about the social emotional well-being of students, but also the social emotional well-being of staff. And so certainly that's been a big change. Another significant change is the focus on career pathways and really focusing on skills would be necessary for career readiness: cooperation, communication, problem solving, etc.
I remember from my first teaching stint, there was no computers, there was no electronics, there was a lot of hands-on teaching. That has become, in my coming backstage, obviously computers are a very large part of our teaching world, even in the music end of teaching. We're using different techniques, different apps that can help our musicians become better.
I would say that for sure the way students learn and the way teachers teach with technology. I can remember many situations way back when we would have textbook adoptions and it was all about textbooks. You wouldn't think about not learning by textbooks back then. That's a big change among very many obvious ones with COVID, obviously. One thing for sure that has not changed, I think Joel would say this too, is just the relationship building piece. That's been the key piece throughout. That's been the standard. So, but yeah, I'd say the technology would be the big thing for me in terms of what has changed.
Tied into the technology, when I started teaching, there were no computers, there were no cell phones, and so teaching was very different. I remember the mimeograph machine and coming back to my class with purple fingers. But the other thing that I think has changed is that education has to be reinvented. Over the years, we've reinvented to adapt to the attention span of students. With technology and with electronics, the kids' attention span is shorter. So when I taught, 30, 40 minutes was a good length of time, but now that we have to transition in our classes a lot more.
Oh my gosh, it's not just teaching. Yorkville has changed so much. Gosh, when I first started there was about 4,000 people in the town, about 500 kids in the school, about 35 teachers. There was no cell phones, no computers. If you wanted to talk to another teacher, another student, you had to go find them and talk to them. I'd say probably the biggest change has been technology. Actually, I'd like to give a big shout out to Ryan Atkins because he really, really transformed this place. And thank goodness, because these last few years with this pandemic, thank goodness that I had co-teachers that were younger than me, because I'm not exactly the tech queen, and I'm not gonna lie, I just feel like these last few years it was like doing college all over again. So I'm very thankful to my co-teachers. As far as teaching, the way that's changed, special ed has changed a lot. So when I first started there, most of the classes were self-contained, and then it was more resource, and now it's all co-taught. So I really enjoyed co-teaching.
So what have I learned about teaching or about myself over the years? What I've learned is I originally went into education because of the relationships that you can build with students and the fact that you can make a difference. So what I learned is no matter how frustrated you get with either education or with the students that you have or whatever it is, if it seems like you aren't making a difference, I learned that you are. And when you least expect it, something happens to let you know that what you did mattered.
Patience, lots and lots of patience. I remember as a new teacher out of college, not having that patience and perspective of the learning process. I was learning with them as I was going. After I became a parent and entered the teaching world again, your perspective changes and you realize you have more patience with the child. You just want to be yourself. There's no correct or wrong way to do it, just your best way to do it.
What I've learned about myself in education over the years is that my philosophy has changed a lot. And one thing that really stands out with my belief is that as an administrator, happy teachers make happy students, and happy students make a happy culture. And really buying into the belief of taking care of people and making sure that they feel comfortable. And one other thing, a good start to the school year is based on 100% based on a winning football team and a winning volleyball team. So a lot of pressure on Coach McGuire and Coach Moeller, but ultimately that really helps build the students' positive energy.
What I really learned about teaching and myself for all the years is I was always told to go into education and you'd have a big impact on students. I got into coach. Coaching was a big thing in my life with the teaching, but over the years I've really learned that it's much more impactful than I ever imagined. The highs and the lows, you'll experience those in both areas, but I did not anticipate the tremendous impact that you can have on a student and then their family's life as well. So that's been truly a great blessing that I've been able to participate in. And I've learned a lot about myself, and I've learned a lot about others. For instance, this young man here, I've learned a little bit about him and what to follow and what not to follow. So that's been a good advice too. So
Much more what not to follow.
Okay, so this one I actually wrote out because to me it's very personal, and I just want to make sure I say this right. So here we go. So these past few years have been challenging, and it's made me realize the importance of leadership. It just takes a whole community to make this school work, and I'm surrounded by these amazing leaders at every level. Especially these last few years, the people that work here never think twice about stepping in to help when it's needed, and I mean everyone. The secretaries, the custodians, the counselors, the paras, the hall monitors, the deans, my fellow teachers, oh my gosh. Like every single day they are handed a new challenge and asked how to solve it, and they do everything in their power to create a world here where our students know that they have their backs. So my fellow teachers, those are my superheroes.
I'll miss the most is working with the people, particularly in District 115. I think what's great about this district and what really kind of drove me to come here is the sense of community and pride in the community and the relationships that are so important in our district. So I'll miss the kids, I'll miss our staff, I'll miss our administrative team, and I'll miss the camaraderie. I think we do a lot of work, and it's hard work, but it's necessary work. But what makes it fun and doable is the relationships we establish with people, and I'll miss that.
I will miss working with my music colleagues the most. Having that camaraderie, sharing ideas across the board from elementary all the way through high school, across all ensembles, orchestra, choir, band. It's just a powerful influence, opportunity that we are giving students, and I think that's what I will miss the most.
The people I work with, mostly the math department, as they are incredibly talented in so many different and unique ways, and they make my job here easier and more enjoyable every day.
One of the things I guess I'll miss most, besides obviously the contact tracing and the trying to find substitute teachers that don't show up and you name it, those things are obvious. But I'll definitely miss most all the people. People like this guy right here. People. It's what it's all about. I'll miss my team at Wyeth for sure. We're like a family. I miss all the students. I miss our administrative team that I've been associated with for so many years. So I'll definitely, and I won't miss trying to watch out for this guy. But those are things that I will miss the most.
Well, number one, I'll miss the most is having a beer after a board meeting on Monday nights.
Can you say that or not?
I think we can.
Okay, all right.
But now we can have them 7 nights a week. The most probably the being around the kids keeps you young, and so that's what I'll probably miss the most. Just need to figure out another way to stay young.
Everything. So actually, I probably won't miss relearns and retakes, but yeah, just everything. The teachers, the students, my colleagues, everybody. I know this sounds really weird, but for years I just love going in on the weekends. Like I go in on a Saturday or Sunday, and I spend the whole day there. And by the time I leave, I can actually see my desk, and I'm actually prepared for the week before or the week coming up. Yeah, so just everything about high school, about being there. Yeah, I'll miss it all.
Well, I'm moving to Florida, so I'm looking forward to enjoying the nice weather on a year-round basis. And I'm also looking forward to being able to spend time with my husband and my family because my parents live down there as well.
I am so looking forward to being able to sleep in when I need to and want to. Also the flexibility in my schedule and time to deal with the activities and things that I enjoy, including helping my family out, my mom and my aunts, and then also having time and being available for my daughter as she gets settled in her career path and graduate school and then a career path.
So what I'm looking forward to the most, and I'm not a big bucket list kind of guy, so I live my life basically doing the things I want to do when I want to do them. I think you have to live in the present. But that doesn't mean that I'm not looking forward to doing things. And so I'm looking forward to doing things like traveling. And so you might say, well, Pete, where do you want to travel? Well, I want to travel to Great Lakes and I want to travel to Island. And you say, well, I've never heard of those places. What are they, resorts? Well, in fact, they're not resorts. They're drag racing tracks. So Great Lakes is in Wisconsin and Island Dragway is in New York. And if you don't know, I'm a big car and motorcycle enthusiast, and so are my sons. I think that road racing and gearhead interests are good for the family. And so I'm looking forward to spending time with my family doing some racing.
What I'm looking forward to the most in retirement is having my son get up before me to go to work at Yorkville High School. It's going to be, I'm very proud of the fact that he's in the building now teaching where I've been for the last 24 years. And I'm looking forward to him watching his career flourish and my daughter's college and career flourish after that. That following them has been a lifelong, it's been memorable, and the next years are going to be really special. Being able to follow them more. Really have no plans, but to see how my two kids flourish.
I'm very impressed that he was very appropriate with all of his what he's going to look forward to the most, knowing this guy. So very well done. Don't know how I can top that.
Trying to stay professional.
There you go. Well, you trying is working pretty good. So what I'm looking forward to the most is I'm really excited about turning the next page to our family, my family's chapter as well. Not knowing the unknown and just going for it. We're really excited about that part. I'm looking forward to making a new chapter in our family's life and my life to see where it takes us and where it takes me, and really having that unscripted future, if you will, and seeing where it takes us. So I'm really looking forward to that and spend some more time with this guy too.
This is a nice, easy question. Sleeping, and traveling and spending time with family and friends. Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's one student that I will carry with me forever, but probably several, probably a lot, as I tend to think about it more and more. But a couple of them, I see the student that as a beginner had no clue what was happening, and then through his efforts and hard work continued through band and has now become a strong leader and a section leader at the high school, and being able to watch them perform at the high school level and beyond. And I'm also a community band co-founder, and I see those students come back to the community band during the summer. And so that's what I really, like I said, it's really hard to pick one student, but I love seeing them all grow through the process and continue their music even after high school.
I've always enjoyed teaching math to those students that math doesn't come easy or that they don't enjoy math. You get that a lot. And this just one student comes from one of those particular classes. He's my one because this particular student struggled in school in general. It wasn't just math. He gave attitude to teachers. He had a lot of issues. And the funny thing was, though, is I was totally unaware of these issues until I attended a meeting saying we needed to look for supports for this student and find ways to help him. And then I realized that something was going on. And throughout this meeting, people kept saying, well, what are you doing? He's doing well in your class. And what are you doing differently than what we are? And I sat back and I thought about it, and I said, that's just it. I'm not doing anything different. I was unaware that he had any issues, so I was treating him just like any other student and letting him know that I believed in him. And what happened was, and so that's just a firm belief of me to know that not having any predisposed ideas of what the student is going to be really helps them. And this student actually turned around and became a better student. His behavior changed and he came to me and said, Miss, I was Miss Romano at the time, Miss Romano, you believed in me, and now I believe in myself and believe that I can make it. And he did. And so making that change is very impactful on him, and it was more impactful on me.
I know a lot of times people ask, like, will you remember a particular student after you retire? And to be honest, there's no one student that I will remember the most after I retire. What I'll remember is that we worked together to help students and provide accommodations and modifications to help students expand and exceed our expectations. And as a team, we did what we needed to do to provide what these students needed to be successful and surpass our expectations. So whenever a student exceeds your expectations, you're going to remember them. And there's a host of them that we work together on.
So the one student that really I'm going to take with me forever is a student athlete that I had at East Aurora High School. I was the freshman football coach, and the middle schools back in the day did not have eligibility lists. And we were on to the third game of the year, and this Thad, we called him, he didn't play the first two games because he didn't have any passing grades. He was a special needs student, and so I worked with his teachers to get his grades up to where he could actually get in the game. And it took a couple more weeks, but the most memorable thing is always that Thaddeus would come running out every Thursday to the practice field, and the first thing he would run up to me and say is, Mr. Wyeth, am I on the EGBG list? Am I on the EGBG list? And he couldn't say eligibility, but he knew exactly what he was on, and he worked so hard to get off of it. Football kept him in school that freshman year. Football kept him driving to be a good student. And when he graduated his senior year, I was there for him, shook his hand, and he could not stop thanking me enough for everything we did. That's really special, and I will always remember Thad.
First name that popped in my head when I saw this question was one of our students, Tommy Boy. Tommy was great. He was just so funny. He was so excited about life and such a good kid, and he just talked nonstop. And I don't think, all his sentences were strung together. He was such a great kid. This one was hard for me. I homebound tutored 3 students that all passed away. 2 of them had cancer, and one had he had a heart condition. So when I go over and tutor them, lots of times I would just sit there and talk to them and just about life. And it just made me realize just how you just can't take life for granted.
The student that would stick most with me, there's been so many over the years as a coach, as a teacher, as an administrator. I've had so many come back, and we've been to weddings of ex-students, and we've had some really heartfelt moments with a lot of ex-students over the years. So it's really hard to pick one, but I'd have to say that there's a student my very first years of Yorkville Intermediate School, that was Kendall. And Kendall, we spent a lot of time with Kendall, and it came to a point where I know exactly where we were at the time. We were in the library, and Kendall's mom was there with me, and we were talking about Kendall and what his future is going to look like, and his past challenges, and where his successes could be in the future. And I remember not leaving that library until we said, this failure is not an option. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to look like, and you're never going to get rid of me. I'm going to follow you to middle school. I'm going to follow you to high school. I'm never going to not be checking up on you. And that was a commitment I made to myself at that time, and followed up on that. And Kendall ended up graduating from college, has a really good career right now. And it led to something that we at Wyeth we called 159, which was just an idea by some teachers and myself that just dealt with positive relationships with kids. It was nothing groundbreaking, but just a recommitment to that. And it had such a groundswell in terms of what it actually meant, and that really became a catalyst for, the way we do business, our school climate and culture. So it's just funny how we talk a lot about this as a staff. You never know when that one moment's going to be. And it had a lot of moments, and that was one. That was really a heartfelt one for me, and I'll never forget it.
For me, I just want every single person that I've ever worked with to know just how much I value them and the work that they do. And I think everybody at Yorkville pretty much knows how much I've loved being a Yorkville Pax all these years. So, they've always been my second family, and they always will be.
What I want my legacy to be is that I was able to develop teacher leaders in my department and set some standards of great collaboration within the department as well. I've worked hard on that over the years. And I think that I've reached that because as I look at my department, I have some great leaders that I think will continue to encourage and improve on developing more leaders and keeping the collaboration that's going on. I'd like to think that it happened because of me, but I also know I've got some great team members, so I think they would probably have done it naturally amongst themselves as well anyways.
I want my legacy to be that the students have come through Yorkville with a great love of music that they're going to carry with them throughout their life. I hope they remember the patience and the efforts that we took with them to help them succeed with their instrument and find that enjoyment where they can let go of other aspects of their lives and just relax and enjoy the music.
I don't have a personal legacy to be remembered by. I think that, if we really reflect on what we do, everything we do in a school district is really kind of going back to the saying of it takes a village to raise a child. And so my legacy is that I've been a part of a great team, particularly at Yorkville, and that we work together to help students, to help parents, to help the community, provide what we need to help students prepare for their future. And that's just a common legacy. It's not my legacy, it's the team. And so in closing, I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone I worked with at District 115, the students, the parents, the community, our administration, and particularly Dr. Tim Shimp for giving me this opportunity the last 5 years. I really appreciate it, Tim. Thanks again.
What would I like my legacy to be? I guess when thinking about that, one thing that comes to my mind, I guess, is that in all these 34 years, if you'd ask any of my past students, parents, any of the staff, cooks, bus drivers, custodians, anyone that have had the pleasure of being a teammate with, that if they ask the question, what do you think of Steve Bjork, what comes to mind, that a positive thought comes to their mind, and they think that was a good dude, that he really cared and that he put 100% into everything, and he was in it for the right reasons. That would make me feel good, and that would be a great legacy, I think.
My legacy would be hope people remember me as somebody who cared and supported every individual, no matter who they were. If something needed to be done, it's not asking somebody to do it, but doing it with them. That would be what I would hope people remember me for, is the true care. Some people nickname me the caretaker, and I just want that to that would be my legacy.
I do have one additional legacy too, that if people ask if Steve Bjork and Mr. Wyeth here kept the main thing, that they'd say yes.
We would. The main thing.